live, and once we're live, now we're live. And so it is automatically recording this session. So as I go through the elements, it'll record it, both my voice and because I'm sharing my screen with you, it's going to share that as well. And then you can do a lot of different things with it at that point. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll embed the video if I'm using a website or something, if I'm using my own website to as a resource, I'll embed it on my website. You can embed it in a presentation, or you can just guide people to your YouTube channel like I did here. So bit.ly/mrounds5 YouTube. That's how you can get to my YouTube channel. Yes.
Can you do that from an iPad?
Oh, a Hangout on air on an iPad. I'm not sure if you can do a Hangout on air from an iPad. But that's something that if you want to hang out after, we can look it up real quick. Okay, so this is me. My name is Mark Rounds. That is my Gmail address, and on the bottom there is my Twitter handle. Just very quickly about me, I've been teaching for over 15 years for the juvenile court and community schools. I've had a lot of different roles. My current role, as of the beginning of September, I'm a CTE Career Academy teacher at the Monarch School, which is just over the bridge. It's a comprehensive K-12 for homeless kids. It's an awesome site with a lot of different resources. And so one of the things that I'm doing now is developing a full makerspace curriculum for our high school kids and eventually our middle school kids. So it's like a new adventure for me. It's pretty exciting. And I just get to kind of throw all kinds of great ideas against the wall and see how kids react to them. And it's kind of the perfect environment for me. So that's where I am, and that's who I am. I'm always looking to connect with teachers who are into the same things. So if you are like-minded and you want to expand your professional or personal learning network, please email me or direct message me on Twitter, and I would be glad to just chat and share understandings, thoughts, and resources. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is, and I asked you to do this earlier, make sure your Google Drive is open, because do want this to be participatory in the fact that, in the way that that as I'm showing you stuff, I want you to actually try it. Okay, the number of slides here that I have here is very ambitious. There's no way I'm getting through all of them. So again, this presentation as a resource for you will be available forever and constantly changing. Okay, so the first section is called Google Drive Hacks, and I put the sort of there in parentheses because I'm not going in and changing code. I'm not doing anything deviant. I'm using a lot of the tools that are already available in Google Drive, okay, but that might not be known. Okay, so those of you that were on the higher end of that bar graph, these might be things you already know. Those of you that were on the other end of the bar graph, mind might be blown, might not be, but we'll see. Okay, so the first page. Now this is one of my favorites. Not many people know about this. There's a lot of different quick ways to start a new document, a new spreadsheet, a new slide, or a new drawing. This is kind of a neat one, and I'm actually going to go out of presentation mode for a moment to show it to you. And this is something that you can utilize this presentation as a tool to create. If you're somebody who likes to use the bookmark bar up here, you can see that in my bookmark bar, I have a bookmark for a doc, a sheet, a slide, and a draw. Okay, if I click on any one of those, it will open up. In this case, I'll go ahead and click on sheet, and it'll open up, unfortunately, in my page here, it'll open up a brand new spreadsheet. Okay, so real quick way, instead of going all the way into my Google Drive and opening up creating a new spreadsheet, I just have these real quick links up here in my menu bar. Give me a sec here for my presentation to come back to me. And so basically the way that you can do that is you can either type out this address, replacing document with slide or drawing or spreadsheet, or you can just click on one of these links in my slide and drag it up into your toolbar, and it will replace, it'll drop into the toolbar up here, this link. And in order to have it say, in this case, a doc, you can right click on it, you can edit it, and then instead of having the name be all that, you can just type in doc. And then you save it, and now you have a quick link for a Google Doc. Yes?
I did that already. I put mine in the bottom actually, and I put my Google Drive icon down there as well. But when I click on it, it says Roseanne Morris Google Drive, but I'm seeing my folders, not the page that you just had a minute ago. How can I make that happen? Because that's the page I often want.
You know what? I'll be glad to, after we're done, just if you have any specific questions on your device, I'll be happy to take a look at it and help you troubleshoot and figure that out. Okay? So yeah, it's a simple process of just clicking on the link in this case and then dragging the URL up into your menu bar, up into your bookmark bar. Okay, there are a lot of other ways to get quick links too. There's different extensions, things like that. So, but that's just one way, and that's the way I use all the time. Okay, next slide is on home pages. If you didn't know, your docs, your slides, and your sheets all have their own home page. Okay, so if I were to go to google.com docs, I get a home page that's just my docs, and it's the most recent doc first. So it's set up, in this case, most recent. There's sort options, and it's last opened by me, last edited by me, last modified, and you can have it alphabetical as well. And then from here, from a jump point, this is another way to create a new document. And once you're on one of these home pages, you can click on the hamburger over here on the left-hand side. If you've ever wondered what those three lines are called, you know, the ones that are up here in the top right corner. It's the menu, but we like to call it the hamburger. And so you can go to your docs, your sheets, and your slides from here. Okay, but just google.com/slides, google.com/sheets, google.com/docs, and you get all of your, you get a nice little home page for the different elements of your drive. Okay, so shortcuts. If I'm in my Google Drive, there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts in your Google Drive. Things that can that can open things up, can move things around just from the press of a button. And the way that you figure out what all those are is by hitting Shift and then the slash question mark button, and it gives you a quick glimpse at all the different keyboard shortcuts. So if you're a keyboard shortcut fanatic, someone who doesn't like to actually click the mouse all that often but likes to have their hands on the keyboard, then I know that if I hit K, it goes up. If I hit J, it goes down. If I hit L, it goes right, left as I'm navigating through my Google Drive. And so you can see there's just a ton of them in here. Shift F creates a new folder. Shift T, a new document. You know, this is the crib sheet for that. And you get it by hitting Shift and question mark. So even
items, is that just the docs? Would that be true of other
apps? That's for your drive. So if I'm on my drive screen, there's the keyboard shortcuts that come up here. These are exclusive to when you're actually looking at your drive online. All right. Also, when you're in your Google Drive, and on the bottom of each one of these pages, you'll see that there's on this one it says Google Drive. This kind of lets you know where the tip is centered. So things that when it says Google Drive, it either means it's on your actual Drive page, the Drive home screen, or it hits all of the different elements, the main three elements, the three-headed monster of docs, slides, and sheets. That it works for all three of those. But if it's just for Google Docs, it'll say Google Docs down there. If it's just for Google Slides, it'll say Google Slides. Okay, so this is a Drive trick, and really this is an underused feature in Google Drive, but I use it all the time. It's just clicking recent on that side gives you a kind of a chronological view of the most recent things that you've opened up in your Drive that you've worked on. So instead of having that Drive view where it's all just folders and things without folders, the items without homes, okay, I can get a real quick view of something that I know I was in yesterday. If I go to recent, I can find the doc or presentation that I was on just yesterday. So just by hitting that recent tab, that's a great thing. Okay, sharing in your Google Drive has changed. It's a little different now. If you're not aware of that, any item that I click on in my Drive, so let's say I have the presentation that we're in right now. If I wanted to share that, share a link, have somebody else edit it. It used to, there used to be the share button. You'd go to it. Now it's pretty quick and easy. Once you're in your Drive, is you can come up here to this linking button, the one that looks like links in a chain, and click on it, and it'll give you, if it's shareable at that point, it'll just give you the link right then and there of people that can view it. If I want to go in and change the sharing settings so that all of you can edit it as well, okay, I can change that to anyone with a link can view, to anyone with a link can edit, and then I can just click on get the shareable link, and that's the shareable link. Okay, so now in Google Drive, it's all about this shareable link. Okay, they call it a shareable link, and this is a change they just made like 2 weeks ago. So if you're using your own school's Google Apps for Education domain, it may not have even updated to this yet. Okay, it's possible. So if you're on your school's GAF domain, you may not even see that yet. Okay, Google kind of rolls things out, and it seems like Google Apps for Education domains get it last. So if you ever want to see the newest features of anything, if you hear about something, if you're awesome or nerdy enough to subscribe to a Google blog, a Google Drive blog, and you see something new is coming out, but it's not in your GAF domain, go to your personal Google account, and most likely you'll see it there. Okay, cropping. Cropping is an awesome feature in Google Docs, and then we'll talk about what it looks like in Google Presentation as well. They've some added features in Google Presentation. But if I were to create a new doc, let me go ahead and do that real quick. And I were to insert an image. We're trying to connect. Okay, well, instead of showing you, I will tell you. If you insert an image into a document, okay, by clicking on the crop button, so if we're looking at this, at this little, sorry about that, if we're looking at this little image here, you have the international symbol for cropping right up here. If you click on the crop symbol in the document toolbar, It'll give you the ability to crop the image right in your Google Doc. Okay, so if there are elements of a screenshot or an image that you're bringing into your Google Doc, then you can actually crop it down to fit into your doc, or if there's something that you just don't want in the image itself, you can crop that out inside of Google Docs. Inside of Google Slides, you can crop and you can mask. So if I have any Photoshop peeps in here that know all about cropping and masking, okay? Basically, cropping is cutting things out, and then masking is kind of changing the shape of the image. And so inside of Google Presentation, and since we're already in Google Presentation, I can come up here and there's a crop image button here, but if I go to the arrow, the little down arrowhead next to the crop symbol, I can choose to mask the image, and I can mask it in a variety of shapes. So let's say I want this picture of whatever butte or the Grand Canyon, a butte in the Grand Canyon, and I want it to be in the shape of a starburst instead of a rectangle. I can choose that starburst mask and create it like that. Now, you know, it's once you show this to your kids, every image they bring in is in the shape of an arrow or a starburst or a happy face. But you know what? If they're not having fun while they're creating a presentation, what's the point in the, you know, where's the excitement? This is, you know, because basically Google Slides is just updated PowerPoint. And, you know, kids, when you tell them to make a PowerPoint now in 2014, not very exciting. Okay, so anything that we can do to make it exciting, and when you start asking them to create images and mask images and then describe why they actually masked the image that way, see, now you're talking about critical thinking. Now you're talking about not only bringing images into a presentation that kind of that fit whatever their presentation's about, but now they're critically thinking about the way that they're masking their images, why they're doing it, and then explaining why they're doing it, which is really what we want kids using technology to do. So cropping and masking is a pretty cool feature, something fun to play with in Google Presentation. Now in Google Docs there is, now let's see if my Google Doc is still trying to connect. Let's see if we can refresh that and make it behave. We'll bring up a different document then. Okay, so we have here a Google Doc. It's got an article about Microsoft versus Samsung. We don't really need to worry too much about the content here. I want to use it though. Okay, now there's a little, on your Google Docs now, there's a little pencil drop menu, a little drop menu with a pencil on it. And that drop menu with the pencil on it gives us a few different possibilities now as to how we want to interact with our document. Okay, and this is a couple months old in Google Docs. All right, and so for those of you who in Microsoft Word love to track changes, okay, this is the way to track changes in Google Docs, is by suggesting. Okay, so when I choose to now suggest any change that I make is now a track changes. Okay, so when kids are collaborating on documents, to put it into that suggesting mode, because what my experience has been when I have kids collaborating on documents is that they're all editing the document at the same time. And so anything that gets deleted, whether on purpose or accidentally, and when it's a full, you know, document full of text, right? That just disappears and kind of no one's the wiser. And you can always go back. A later slide that we're going to look at has to deal with a revision history. You can always go back in the revision history and find the old one, but that wipes out any new changes that are made. If you have kids editing everything in suggest, you know, after they're done, you know, putting in new content, when they're kind of looking through and editing each other's work in a collaborative document, if you put it into that suggesting mode, then it doesn't actually delete anything. It just makes that suggestion. And then as the author, bless you, as the author of it, you can either accept that suggestion or reject that suggestion. And if I accept it, then it just does it. And the suggestion that on the right-hand margin disappears. Or if I wanted to change blog with wrote, I don't really need the capital there. If I want to change blog with wrote, right, it'll or just delete this blog and altogether if I'm the one that created it. Okay, but if I want to reject it, then I just reject it and it stays the way it was. Yes? Mm-hmm. No, they'll put it in that mode. And that's actually a really cool thought on how to use suggestion mode as kind of as a way to see how a student would edit or mark up, or annotate a document that you gave them. Is that, you send them out, whatever you use, if you're just sending them, giving them a document, having them make a copy, if you use something like Google Classroom or Hapara, where you can actually send out, a copy of a document to every kid, that this way you can kind of see their editing process, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Sure. Exactly. It won't delete it. It'll just cross it out, and they'll be able to see that happened. Yeah. That's a great use for this tool that I hadn't thought of, is to kind of is quality control over a document that you might send out to students, knowing that anything that they add. So when it's in suggestion mode, if they were to add an answer, like let's say this line right here was a question, and I wanted them to answer that question underneath. When they answer that question underneath, it'll have that line underneath it, because it's thinking that that's an edit when actually it's an answer. So I mean, and that can be, so that's kind of part of that. You kind of have to accept that as part of what it's going to look like. But I don't know that that's a bad thing. Yes.
If someone offers a suggestion for example, like if you have multiple students on one document,
Mm-hmm.
like one says to the other, hey, you should change this, and give that as a suggestion, and the student no, and rejects it, is there still a record of them suggesting that?
No, not to my knowledge, there isn't. Yeah, it's ephemeral. It lasts until you delete it. Yeah. But I mean, as a teacher, if I was utilizing this tool with students, I would definitely there would definitely be some ground rules in that, if the goal is that students are, in a collaborative document editing each other's participation in here using the suggested mode, that I might say I don't want no deleting of suggestions, so that actually take a look at why this suggestion was made, and start having students offer, because in here it's not like adding a comment. Okay, this isn't adding a comment. So if I wanted to add a comment, I would go to insert. Where's my comment? Oh, maybe I can't insert a comment in suggestion mode. So if I'm in editing mode, thank you. If I wanted to just insert a comment, I would insert a comment. Right? So this is different. This is actually suggesting changes. Right? So if I wanted, this is kind of where we start bringing in speaking and listening into an assignment. If I don't have kids making comments, if I just have them making suggestions in suggestion mode, right? Then they have to verbally explain why they made that suggestion, why they think wrote is a better word than blog in this instance. You know what I mean? So now we have students, not only collaborating, in the document, but collaborating verbally as well.
So did you resolve that, Mark?
This one here, not yet.
Because I just tried it, and when you open up comments panel, it shows you whatever comments and suggestions were resolved. So there isn't just-
Oh, cool. Okay.
You click on the comment button, next to share. Once you've done all that, then it opens
Ah,
up
nice,
to
nice.
everything that you've done. Because I had a teacher once who did that with the kids, and they're like, yeah, but then when they resolve it, I can't see what they did. And it's like, yeah, if you open the panel, it shows you everything.
Very cool.
So it would say suggestion accepted or suggestion.
Right, right. Suggestion rejected.
What the kids-
And you can actually then have a conversation within the comments panel. I love it when I learn things at my own session. It's so awesome. It's like, I mean, that's always the kind of hazard in a session like this, where you're just lobbying out all these different tips, is that it kind of eliminates a lot of the conversation, you know, that we can have around things like this and sharing. And that's awesome. Thank you. Everyone got that up here? Comments button. You can open your comments thread and you can see all the different comments that have been made. Okay, so that suggesting mode is yeah, it's awesome stuff. So there's kind of next level here is the revision history. And revision history is something to kind of, I like to use as a teacher to kind of see the evolution of a document, but it's something that can be pretty dangerous for students to use, because if you actually go ahead and select a prior revision and then start editing that, it eliminates things that are new. But pretty neat to have students actually come into their revision history and see which changes are made. And if it is a collaborative document, which this one isn't, but if it is a collaborative document, then you can see, you can kind of take a look at student participation, how, changes are made, which students made, the amount of changes. So you might have, a requirement for students to go in and revise, each of them in a collaborative document, revise what they've done, make some sort of a revision, 5 different revisions. And you can kind of take a quick glimpse at, student participation in a collaborative document using revision history. It's also nice to just be able to go back to restore revisions. You can go back in history. It's like a little time machine for your Google Documents. I want to say that every time it's closed, or every time somebody new brings in starts something in it, it creates a revision point. And you can come in here to show more detailed revisions, and it will actually start breaking that down even further. No, I wasn't on this last night at 11:55 p.m.
The other thing we found in high school is a lot of times we see docs that work in the
Uh-huh.
and if there's one revision and it's all one body of text, you can probably just copy and paste it.
Ah, very good.
It's a really nice plagiarism feature. Because kids send around the same document.
Sure, sure.
Semester, so there's one revision history and it's one big paste.
Well, you can see right here that when I click down here, there's a button down here at the bottom that says show more detailed revisions. And that button, actually, you can see here, it's basically every change that's made at 10:21, at 10:21, at 10:20, at 10:19. So it looks like every time it saves a change, which is basically every time you add something, it saves the change, right? You can get that minute with your revision history, which is pretty rad. What's your name? Susie. I'm gonna switch spots with you. I'm gonna have you finish this up. Okay. Oh, you know what? Any tool that we can use to keep students moving toward excellence, man. That's because copying and pasting a paragraph of text is it's not excellence. It's but unfortunately in this day and age, it's just it's what kids do, and it's what it's basically copying and pasting is a skill and an art, right? And so it's you want kids to use it, but for good. Okay, auto list, kind of a new feature in Google Docs and Slides. Okay, if I wanted to create a list, Boy, it does not like this document. It's still trying to connect to it. If I wanted to create a list, and I'm just going to carve out some space here, out of suggestion mode and back into editing mode. Okay, if I wanted to create a quick list and I want it to be a numbered list, if I type 1 and a period and I hit the space bar, it automatically creates a numbered list. Okay, if I want to instantly create a letter, if I want each line to be a letter, capital letter, same thing. Lowercase letter, same thing. If I want it to be a bulleted list, I hit the asterisk and space bar. So super quick. If I want it to be a hyphened list, I want everything to start with a hyphen, same thing. Okay, so just a real quick and easy way to start a bulleted list instead of going through all of the effort to come up here to the list buttons and choosing a bulleted list or a numbered list. You can just start one instantly by hitting whichever character you want and a space bar. Okay, so this is kind of fun. In your both Drive and slides, there are special characters. They're extremely special. Okay, and so those of you that want students to bring mathematical symbols, arrows, you can see there's a lot of different categories here. There's symbols, modifiers, and so if I were to click on punctuation, I would see some different punctuation. Most of those I can access on a keyboard. Numbers I can get into are standard numbers, and then I can get into what looks like Greek and Sanskrit and Swahili. But the cool thing about this feature, not only the ability to check out different characters and insert them into your document. So I can insert something into my document just by clicking on it. You can see over here on the left-hand side that every time I click on one of these symbols, it generates it into my document. But if I just can think of a symbol that I want to put, that I want to find without looking through all of this, I can type, like, let's say I want an arrow that comes up diagonally. I just draw it in a little box, and then it finds the closest possibilities to that character, right? So there's my diagonal arrow right there. There's a kind of another diagonal arrow right there. There's a 7, which it thinks it might be. There's an S and an R. And there's some other different characters in here, but I can find symbols by just drawing them in the little box there. And if there's a special symbol that looks somewhat like that, it'll find it. Okay, so it's just insert and then special characters, and then on the slide deck it gives you kind of the directions here: insert and then special characters. Do you have a text box open? That's why. If you're in slides, you need to have a text box open and the cursor flashing inside of that to bring up that special characters.
Can you do that special character in a picture? So if you have a Google Doc and you have a photo in there, you can sort of scan arrow from somebody, or would be better to use the program.
If you're in a Google Doc?
Yeah, so like a Google Doc, you have an image in there.
So let's say I had an image, right here in this area and I wanted the little arrow pointing to it. It has horizontal lines.
There's other programs that do that.
Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, in presentations, there's the ability to, bring in arrows, but I don't think they have that in docs. That's something that we can check out. I'm not sure that you can, I would kind of bring in an image of an arrow pointing at it, you know what I mean? That would be kind of my workaround for that. They don't have it, they don't do it yet, I should say. Don't do it yet. Okay, so preferences. A lot of times when you go into the preferences of an application, you get like this huge list of all these different preferences that are available in your in Google Docs or Google Slides. There is a very short list of preferences. And so if I go into Tools and Preferences, you can see that there's just a few things in here. And I just want to go over them with you very quickly. Using smart quotes, okay, automatically detecting links, and automatically detecting lists. So we've seen the automatically detecting lists. Using smart quotes basically starts and finishes any quote with the right kind of quotation marks. So the kind of proper little curly quotation marks instead of the straight hashes that go up and down that look exactly the same at the beginning and end. If you use smart quotes, it can sense when you're at the beginning of a quote and at the end of a quote and put the proper quotation marks there. Automatically detecting links allows you to type in www.google.com into a document, and it'll automatically detect that as a link and create a link out of it. Now, this automatic substitution thing is something that's pretty cool. Okay, so now this is something that if you need a quick symbol, you can type in whatever's in these boxes here, and it'll generate what's in here. So if I want to type out 1/3 and I want it to look, instead of like that, I want it to look like an actual fraction. I went to Tools and Preferences. So if I want 1/3 to look like 1/3, I just type in 1 in here, like here, 1/3, and press the space bar, and it turns into 1/3. If I want the copyright symbol, I will put parenthesis, C, parenthesis, and when I hit the space bar, it'll turn into that little copyright symbol. Now those, as you can see, if I go into Tools and Preferences, there's a pretty limited list here. Most of them are fractions, right? But if I can really create a substitution for just about anything. Okay, I like to use their format here of putting something in parentheses. So let's say I wanted to just use parenthesis 9 parenthesis, and I wanted to use that to say you need to update this link. Okay, I'm using a symbol to create a message. So I can, as a teacher now, I can create shortcuts using these symbols. The way my kind of hack around that is that I would go into, I would go into translate.google.com, which give me a word that in English generates a French word with something over it. What's the English word? School. And I want that translated to French. Okay, so there I have an E with a so if I have this word, I would copy that. I would bring it back over into my doc. I would go up to Tools. I would go to Preferences, and I would replace Nicole, which I would write because there's no English word that looks like that. So every time I wrote that, I would paste it. I would paste in what I just got out of Google Translate, right? So now, when I type in Nicole and space it, well, why didn't that work? Let me make sure it's in there. Yep, I didn't save because my screen itself it's kind of deformed because I'm plugged into a projector that I'm not used to being plugged into. I have to kind of play around with this a little bit here. Okay, so.
Wouldn't it also be a more, I feel like a little bit easier to hack to do, like create like a little like a what do you call it? Slam. Like maybe /E. Yeah. So you would, anytime you want to do like E. So you don't have
definitely, yeah. You can do something like, you could do like, if you do E with a with something after it, that it would replace it with that. So there's a lot of ways that you can go with that. right? And because my my screen is kind of maxed out because it's plugged into this projector, I can't get down here to save it. But that would be the way to do it. Yeah. If anything that you want to get around, you know, the kind of keyboarding issues that come with typing in a foreign language, with inputting in a foreign language, you can kind of utilize this to get around that.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Can you shortcut comments if you find yourself making 10 or 15
Absolutely.
types of comments? Can you shortcut them?
Yep. Yeah, you could just. That was one of my my things here. So you can, if there's like a symbol that you know that you're never going to use, like the tilde, you know, you can create the tilde to be like, you know, again, like update your links. If you know you have kids with dead links all the time, it could be anything. So you can put an entire statement in there and have a symbol be a statement. I don't know. I've typed an entire sentence in there and it's worked for me.
Do these pictures from docs to slides to everything, or do you have to redo them in every?
You have to redo it in every one of them.
Okay.
I believe, yeah, because I've done it. The ones that I've done in docs did not transfer to slides. Yes.
So if these are your preferences, anything that you edit, whether you are the owner or not, will allow you to use these shortcuts. But
Right.
if somebody else doesn't have the same ones,
On their, you mean in their doc, on their drive, yeah.
but it'll still show up the way that you do. It's
It'll show up in my Google Docs.
right, but if you edit something like /E,
Mhm.
because you are doing that, it puts it into the document as what you edited, but they will still see it exactly as.
Oh yeah, definitely. They'll see it as that. So yeah, exactly. So in this one right here, I actually used that, right? I did a inside of an asterisk inside of parentheses to create these stars, and you guys can all see it. Is that what you meant?
Right.
Like they won't see the code. They'll see the output. Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure that that's possible in preferences. Again, it could be, but I'm not sure. That would be something that if I knew that I was going to have students utilizing that, I would take them through a tutorial. I'd teach them to do it on their own, so that they, you know, instead of having it be, you know, I would make them aware that that exists. Okay, replacing images. Pretty cool feature. If you're in a Google document, if you're in anything in Google, if I wanted to replace an image with a different image and have it fit in the same space, okay, I would right click on that image and I would go down to replace image. And it would ask me to come up with an image to replace it. I would take, in this case, a Chrome banner, one that doesn't necessarily fit right there, and it would just replace that image very quickly. Okay, and you can see that the one cool feature about this, I mean, you could always just delete that image and then insert another image, but the one cool thing that the replace image function does is it doesn't resize it. It puts it into that same width and height category, but it doesn't distort it, right? So in this case, I had an image that was this tall and this wide, and when I replaced it with an image that was a banner shape, it left it at that width but didn't blow it out to a huge height. So it makes it fit into the same space as much as it can with the parameters of the image. So it didn't make it any wider. Where this image, if I would have inserted it, it would have taken up the entire space because it's a big image. That's just right clicking on an image and replacing image. It enlarged your picture? It's not supposed to. We're going to yell at Google. Okay, using stars. If you're not starring important things, you know, it's a good habit to get into when I'm in my Google Drive, and if I have an important document, one that I know I'm going to use often, I can right-click on it and add a star. In the old Google Drive, when it would have a listing, it would have those empty stars next to your document. Doesn't have that anymore because they've changed the interface, but the stars are still there. Okay, so when you're in your Google Drive, right-clicking on any document gives you a lot of different options, showing the link, but adding a star is the one we're talking about. So if I click on add a star, it's going to add a star to it. And so when I come over here to my starred items, okay, my most important documents live there. Okay, anything that I know I'm going to want to come back to often, okay, I'll put a star on them. I'll hang a star on it. Okay, format painting. Okay, if you are creating a document and you want to share the same kind of formatting in one space and another space, let's say this is my heading, and I'll go ahead and make it bright green. Okay, let's say that I want this exact formatting down here on this heading. Okay, if I click in here anywhere, and I come up here and click the little paint roller, and then I highlight this, it changes it to exactly the same formatting. Okay, and so if you've got, you know, something that's in a title or some sort of heading, and it's a different color and maybe a different font, and you want to emulate that throughout your document in different places, that format painter is a quick and easy way to do it.
That's like you set whatever settings you want, and then you can go around and just use the format painter.
Right. So let's say you're creating a syllabus, and you want you know, all your headings to, you know, all the different headings to look exactly the same. To, you know, and if you're talking about now when you're creating syllabi for online classes, there's a whole ADA compliance now as far as your headings are concerned. So you want your headings to be all exactly the same and to fulfill the letter of the law as far as the Americans with Disabilities Act is concerned. So you want to make sure that all of your headings are right, you know. So if I get one heading right and I format paint that onto every one of my headings, then I know I'm good to go. Okay, but just a quick and easy way to share the same formatting in one area to another area, and so on and so forth. It's one time only though. So once you format paint one thing, you gotta do it again. And I can just click anywhere in this and click the format painter, and then anything that I highlight will then get that formatting instantly. But if I do it again, it won't do it. So it's like again, it's one-time use. So you just got to keep hitting that. Okay, I know that some other sessions have already pointed people toward the research pane, but I'm going to do it again because I want to make sure that if you haven't seen this before, that you do see it, because you know, as far as providing students with the opportunity for research in their documents, right? Google Docs has built that in, and this the research pane is active in every element of the three-headed monster, in docs, slides, and sheets. Let's say that I want to know more about Microsoft. I highlight Microsoft, I go over to tools, and I go to research, and it instantly comes up with some research on Microsoft, from Wikipedia, the Microsoft store to Facebook to Office. It gives me some different articles on that. Let's say that I click on one of those articles, it takes me right to it. But the other thing that it can do here is, if I look here at the article and I click on the box, it will give me a preview of that over here if I want it. And again, it takes up less of the screen than you see here. This is, again, this is kind of blown up resolution-wise. But I can insert a link, and it'll provide me with a link to that page right on what I highlighted, which is pretty cool. And then also, if I go to a website, it can also cite that resource. So if I had something here that I wanted to cite as a resource, this is different than EasyBib in that if I click cite, you can see here that it put what looks familiar to some of us because we're old school. It looks like a little footnote reference, right? And if I go down to the bottom of my page, right, it gives me, and it's a little weird now because this image is here. Let me take that image out, right? It gives me down here at the bottom a footnote, right? So this research pane is really cool to, a really great tool to, to teach students how to research and all that, but and B, it gives them the tool to be able to cite, the things they reference. Okay, again, that's in tools and in research. You can research in Google Scholar, which only researches scholarly articles. So when we did that search on Microsoft, we were just searching the web. But if we go to Scholar, right, it'll do a search through Google Scholar, which is all scholarly articles. Okay, we can find quotes on Microsoft or from Microsoft. Okay, we can look for images on Microsoft. Okay, so this research pane gives us some different options, and it's pretty cool. So again, it's available in presentation and in sheets. What's that? Yeah, it could be any. Yeah, whatever you like, it'll research, and then you can also just type into that field at the top, and it'll grab it. Okay, I want to blaze. We got 4 minutes, so I apologize. This presentation is available to you, but one of the coolest things about your Google Drive is that in Gmail. So now we're going in Gmail a little bit. Gmail has a 25 megabyte size limit on attachments. So if I attach a document or an image, or God forbid like a movie clip, an MP4 or a .mov file, right? 25 megabyte limit. If that is in my Google Drive, okay, it can go up to, I want to say it's 15 gigabytes. So if you have a movie clip, okay, so in this case, I'll go into my Gmail and I'll compose something really quick, and I will attach not a link. I want to attach paperclip. Okay, and if you don't already have Google Drive integration on your desktop, it's very easy to do. Just look it up. Say you want a Google Drive on your desktop, and let's see. Let me find a file in here. Okay, I know this file is like 600 megabytes. Yeah, 600 megabytes, and it's going to tell me it won't do it. It's 25. There's a 25 megabyte, but I'll send it using Google Drive, and it'll open up my Google Drive, and I can send anything up to 15 gigabytes. So if you have, you use that space. You get a bunch of space inside of your Google Drive. So you use it for big files that you want to send. Okay, there have been a lot of sessions on Chrome extensions. Go to the Chrome extension library, but take a look at these when you take this home with you. The Save to Google Drive extension, the Google Drive Quick Search, which is rock solid. If you install this extension, all you do is type in Drive up here in your Omnibar and press the space bar, and it'll just search your Google Drive. Okay, so if I type in the word hacking here, which is the title of this, you can see that it just gives me stuff from my Google Drive. Not only that, but it gives me a place on my website where I actually embedded it. So it'll show you all the places that Google Drive item exists. Okay, and there's a ton more. There's so much involved in your Google Drive. There's so many different ways that you can utilize it and play with it and have fun with it and have kids, really leveraging Google Drive in more ways than just, you know, writing papers and creating presentations. So if you have any questions about any things we talked about, or you just want to, you know, chat about Google Drive, because, you know, that's what we geeky teachers do, please email me or DM me on Twitter. But thanks for being good, and I'm glad I had too much content, not enough. So what I will do also is come in here now to my Google Hangout.